This is going to bring us into studs and duds here. And like I said, we're going to give you a little bit of extra today because we are out for the holidays. We want to provide you with a little bit more info, give you a little extra love this week. And like we said, make sure you're subscribed and you've rung the bell to get those post notifications. We're going to be dropping a couple videos over the next 2 weeks while we're out. And it's going to be some helpful information for you, potentially for next year for fantasy. Going to give you our thoughts on 2024 fantasy football season. Going to be some fun stuff there for you. And follow us on the socials. Send us any start-sit questions. But since we're doing all that, we're giving you some extra studs and duds. That's right. We're going to give you a stud and dud quarterback, running back, tight end, and wide receiver. That's right. We're hitting all 4 skill positions here. Wes, start us out. You're going to take quarterbacks and tight ends. I'm going to take running backs and wide receivers. Give us your stud and dud quarterback for round 1 of the fantasy playoffs.
Oh, hey friends, how you doing? Congratulations on making playoffs. And if you're not in playoffs and you're still watching Fantasy Football Advice, I have a special appreciation for you because that is very dedicated to this hobby. Okay, so first things first is just a reminder to start Joe Flacco. He's not my stud, but just a reminder because this has been a wonderful surprise seeing Joe Flacco back in the AFC North dominating. And if you didn't catch it in the previous episode, we talked about Joe Flacco is a better option than a lot of quarterbacks, including, yes, Patrick Mahomes, with Mahomes' 7 consecutive bad games. Okay, but here's my real stud, one that we haven't talked about, and I'm ready to just say, let's go with a boy here in LA with the Rams. Let's roll out Matthew Stafford week 1.
I love it.
Of the playoffs because he's fresh off of a 28-point performance and 6-point passing touchdown statistics. But that's 3 touchdowns and 0 interceptions against the Baltimore Ravens. That is serious. He's up against the Commanders. Come on now. Everybody throws for whatever they want to against the Commanders defense, especially since they got rid of Montez Sweat and Chase Young. They allow the second most points to QBs this season. And Rams are fighting for a playoff spot. They legitimately had a chance to beat the best team in the AFC, to be right there in the wild card hunt for the NFC. They're still hungry, and they proved that they can be a winning team. So I believe that teams that are fighting for wild card spots are the best teams for fantasy, especially this late in the season. Cooper Kupp is playing well again. Puka Nacua is feeling okay. Kyron Williams can take any pass from Stafford to the house, especially in the way they use him in the red zone. So I'm very excited for Stafford to get another 3 touchdowns for you in playoffs. Come on. Now my dud. Just a quick reminder, in case everybody needs to hear this. Trevor Lawrence is not going to win you your playoff game. Trevor Lawrence is a dud. He's been battling this high ankle sprain. It's a miracle he even got to play again this season, let alone the week after. Didn't miss any time. But he had a nice string of things going for a couple of weeks. But you've been rolling without Trevor Lawrence for some time now. He's been on your bench at least. Do you want to start Trevor Lawrence against the Ravens? Do you want to start him against the Ravens? Do you want to start him without Christian Kirk? He just threw 3 interceptions against the Browns. If there's a defense that is as good as the Browns, it's the Ravens. I know Stafford just threw 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions against the Ravens, but the Ravens are not going to let that happen again, especially against a beat-up Jacksonville Jaguars team that is struggling to still win to keep the division. My stud, my dud for round 1 of playoffs for quarterbacks, baby.
I love it. Listen, I think Stafford is going to be fantastic. He's pretty high up there for me this week, especially. He's been on a heater with this offense back and rolling. And Trevor Lawrence against the Ravens is going to be tough sledding. Hopefully he can provide some value for Evan Ingram, maybe Calvin Ridley, but probably not much more going there for you. So definitely good things there for the quarterbacks. Getting into the running backs here. And this is a fun time because, Wes, we didn't talk about this. We didn't tell each other who our players were. But my running back stud is none other than Kyron Williams. Now, this isn't a novel idea for Kyron Williams to be good. He's been a top 10 weekly running back 6 of his 9 games this season. But Washington is so bad. They just allowed 3 rushing touchdowns to Miami, 2 to Devon Achane, 1 to Raheem Mostert. And then they went into their bye week and they sat there and they thought about it and they thought about why they traded Chase Young and Montez Sweat. And they're going to be reminded this weekend that they should not have done that because Kyron Williams is about to pop off. Washington is so bad. I was amazed to look at this stat. I went back and did some research on it. They've allowed 11 touchdowns to running backs over the past 7 games.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
what, look, dude, multiple touchdown scores. Saquon has scored multiple touchdowns against them. Devon Achane has scored multiple touchdowns against them. DeAndre Swift has scored touchdowns against them. There's just
Ramondre
so many of
Stevenson.
these guys. Ramondre Stevenson had a big breakaway touchdown. Like, it's just so many running backs have done so well against the Commanders this year. They're so bad against the run. Mark my words.
Oh,
Kyron Williams is the RB1 for Week 15 in fantasy
that's
football, round 1 of the playoffs. RB1. He's gonna pop off. Now, my dud. I want to jump into this real quick here. It's James Conner. Before his Week 13 finish against the Steelers, where he was top 5, he hadn't surpassed 8.3 fantasy points in his last 5 games. Now, the blueprint is for the Cardinals to be competitive in games, for James Conner to be good. And I don't know if you've checked the schedule, but the Cardinals play the San Francisco 49ers this weekend. So that's not going to happen. Michael Carter's been seeing more work, and Amari DiMercado's been in there taking snaps away from him whenever he's been healthy. James Conner's going to be an absolute dud this week for the fantasy football playoffs. If you have to start him, close your eyes and hope he falls into the end zone at some point. But this is going to be a bad, bad game for James Conner. So, Kyron Williams, stud. James Conner, dud. Boom. Bonus content for Week 15, round 1 of the fantasy playoffs.
Good picks. And I think that I read that Hollywood Brown is back in practice too, so he should be able to be in that lineup. That's going to be a good connection for Kyler Murray in the passing game, so I don't anticipate too much on the ground for Cardinals. I also think might as well roll out all the Rams players you got. It seems like that we're both very high on the Rams against the Commanders. Yeah, Puka, start him. Cooper Kupp, obviously start him. Go get Tyler Higbee. I don't care. Go see what happens there. Is Ronnie Rivers off IR? Roll him out. I don't care. Roll him out. He might get a touchdown regardless. Yeah. Demarcus Robinson. Royce Freeman. Let's see what happens, baby. No. Okay. Yeah. Good picks. Okay, tight ends. Let's talk about some tight ends here. It's one of the trickiest positions in fantasy football this season, especially because we've got a lot of interesting names that are doing well. Let me just add a bit of encouragement. Seems like we're going to be watching a lot of this Rams and Ravens game because my stud for first round is Isaiah Likely. I'm loving this guy. We talked about him last episode about how much we believe in him in our Fluker for Real segment. We said that's for real. Pay attention to last year, okay? Last year, when he filled in for Mark Andrews for 2 games, he scored 2 touchdowns in each game, okay? Week 18, something that we don't pay attention to much in fantasy football. Week 18, to help clinch their playoff spot, which they then had to play the Bengals back-to-back weeks, to clinch the playoff spot with Snoop Huntley under quarterback, he still had 103 yards receiving and 8 catches. This guy is legit. He is no joke. That was with Mark Andrews, by the way, week 18. This is no just backup tight end. This is, I think, a tight end that could be starting on many different teams. Fresh off of a 7-catch, 83-yard performance and 1 score, Isaiah Likely is a stud for fantasy. And just a reminder, if you have Isaiah Likely, you probably need a tight end. So start him. Just roll him out. If you got him for whatever reason to hold him back, consider starting him. Maybe use that flex option to get Isaiah Likely in there and help you get 16, 17 points. Okay. My dud for the week, just a reminder, because it's been a long time since we saw this player perform. Hunter Henry is a dud for round 1 of playoffs. Some people may have thought, in the midst of some exciting games from the previous weekend, we forgot, hey, Hunter Henry just had 2 touchdowns against the Steelers. Maybe that's something to pay attention to. Bailey Zappi is on fire. The first time a quarterback scored 3 touchdowns in the first half since Tom Brady. Bailey Zappi, the next best quarterback. Okay, here's the deal. 1, it was Hunter Henry's birthday, And that's something that players and coaches love to do. They love to just feed the
Yeah.
guy who's the birthday boy a lot of football and see if they get in the end zone. Okay. Number 2, he hadn't scored a touchdown since week 9 prior to the previous week, and he hadn't scored 14 points since week 2. So that was a fluke. And I know you may be desperate on tight ends, but I sure hope you have better options. But Hunter Henry is not the person to roll out, especially some people might be saying, oh, I don't know, maybe the Patriots are pretty good. Maybe the Patriots are going to just be an upset team, spoiler team. Oh, they're playing the Chiefs. I don't know. The Chiefs may be falling apart. You know, the way Mahomes had a meltdown. Who knows? No, don't get cute. Not in fantasy. We're not. This is a penalty. We're not doing that here. Hunter Henry's a dud, but Isaiah Likely is my stud.
Yeah, I love it. I love Isaiah Likely, and I think I think you said it last episode, Wes. He could be a starting tight end on like more than half of the teams in the league. Like he is a very, very, very talented player. They definitely found a gem in the draft there. And Hunter Henry, you shouldn't be chasing the touchdowns here. Oh, Bailey Zappi's the new quarterback. No, it doesn't matter. Don't chase those. Demario Douglas should be back, and Ezekiel Elliott's getting 400 targets a game. Don't chase the touchdowns there with Hunter Henry. I love it. Finishing us out with wide receivers.
Yeah, baby.
Dude, okay, so pretty much the Rams are going to rip the Commanders apart because Cooper Kupp is my stud for round 1 of the fantasy football playoffs. Like it wasn't on purpose that we did this, guys. It's just so clear that this is going to be a bloodbath and that the Rams are going to just absolutely rip them apart. Kupp returned to his former glory with 25.5 fantasy points last week. Washington pass defense is god awful, terrible. I just want to let people know it wasn't a fluke last week with Kupp, and that you should put him back in your lineup. And it's right over the playoffs. Can we trust Cooper Kupp again? Yes. It's the Commanders. It's Cooper Kupp. It's Matthew Stafford. Kupp's touchdown that he had was when Stafford was like off his back foot and just kind of like tossed it up, and Kupp like just got under it to where he needed to get to it. That was vintage Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford. Like I've seen that 100 times before. They're back in a groove. Puka isn't affecting it. Puka is still getting his. Demarcus Robinson's getting his apparently. Kyron Williams is a factor, but Cooper Kupp, confidence you can start him in round 1 of the playoffs. Don't be freaked out. He should be good to go here for you. And my wide receiver dud for round 1 of the playoffs. He was the wide receiver 2 last week. But I've got Drake London as my dud for round 1 of the fantasy playoffs. And listen, it's nothing against him. I gave him some high praise last episode. It was great to see him have this kind of breakout performance. He got the high targets. He had some impressive plays. Some big-time catches. But when the Falcons played the Panthers in week 1, Drake London saw 1 target and scored 0 fantasy points. Now, I'm well aware that Desmond Ridder could have changed his tune and that Arthur Smith could be in his ear going, let's get the ball down the field more. Is there going to be another goose egg? No. But you run the ball against the Panthers. That is what everyone has done all year long. Last week we saw Alvin Kamara have a great game. Scored a couple touchdowns on the ground there. And guess what? They've got this hot guy named Bijan Robinson who's running through people all the time. He's an attractive dude too. I realized how it sounded when
I was about to say it's kind of cute.
Attractive fella, cutie pie for sure. But he is tearing it up on the ground. And I almost just did it again. I was like, he is hot.
Oh, they've got this smoking hot running back.
Smoking hot dude from
Bijan. Get Bijan me. Ooh. All right.
Oh my god. Listen. You run the ball against the Panthers. I've seen it before. I've seen Kyle Pitts have a great week. I've seen Drake London have a good week. Obviously, last week was great for Drake London. I just don't know if that's going to be in the game script here. I don't. The Falcons' defense has been a lot better lately. I think they're just going to be running the ball against them. So, Drake London, dud. Cooper Kupp, stud. Entire Los Angeles Rams team, studs. Winning the Super Bowl, apparently. I don't know what's happening here. But I'll tell you what, they'll help you win some fantasy Super Bowls. That's for sure.
You'll get to the next round. with Rams player. Fire up
Yeah.
Todd Gurley, Robert Woods, Sam Bradford. I mean, let's go all the way, baby. If anyone has ever put on a Rams jersey, let's do this, baby. Mark
Steven
Bulger,
Jackson,
I'm ready.
sleeper of the week.
Steven Jackson was sweet, though.
Dude, he was awesome.
Drake London is interesting because that's the one that I don't know because I feel like that was incredible. 30 points on full PPR. I mean, that was awesome, and it felt like there was something that actually happened. A lot of targets and catches.
Yeah,
we'll see. We'll see how that pans out because the truth is Carolina has close games and they just don't have anything on offense, so the games are close. But that does mean the defense is actually reliable enough to kind of put some people in their plays for a few quarters at a time to get them under 25 points, but the offense doesn't get very much. So it's entirely possible. We'll see what happens. And, maybe that's why we bench Falcons players because they all did very well. And as soon as we started to trust them, Arthur Smith was like, yeah, no, Jonathan Smith's going to throw a touchdown to Tyler Algier.
I
don't know why he sounds like Patrick Mahomes
on this show. Like we've done like other impressions of other people, and it's just a Mahomes impression every time. It's just like, we're not gonna Travis Kelce on the team. Right. I agree with you. I think we're in a good agreement spot there. I think this is just gonna be. I still have a piece of me that's like Arthur Smith's gonna do the wrong thing, isn't he? He's gonna do such a.
He'll find some way to do the wrong thing.
Division game could be wrong there.
As bad as the Panthers are, division games are no
division
joke.
Game, and the Falcons are still fighting to get to a winning record because they have a chance to host a playoff game. Right now, the Bucs have the 1 seed, but like if the Bucs lose and then the Falcons win this weekend, the Falcons will be back in that 1 seed spot. So interesting stuff to see. We'll definitely pay attention, but. Tempering expectations for Drake London, potentially not a top 2 wide receiver finish.